Today I am going to be talking to you about self-harm. Um, you'll have to excuse the barking in the background. That's a Shih Tzu across the street who likes to harass me and let me know that the park is his. Uh, anyway, so um, self-harm and wanting to end my life has been a problem that I have had for 12 or 13 years, and it's been quite the struggle. And it's become more prevalent in my mind again. When 2 years ago, when I realized I had a illness, I then waited about a month and I started going to therapy. And within a month or two of therapy, I was able to learn a lot about the illness and how to deal with BPD and how to deal with self-harm. And so the past year and a half, it really hasn't been such a problem. And I've learned new coping mechanisms to then kind of sway my thoughts from that, because it is an addiction. And I kind of talk about it casually just because I have dealt with it for so long. And I was actually surprised to find out that not as many people as I thought think like I do. So, so I kind of feel like it's casual, even though for somebody else I think it's a really sad and awful thing. But I would also, I suppose, kind of expect people to want to resort to it more than what they do, which is a good thing, but then it just makes me feel bad about myself. So, I don't know, whatever. So, for things that are small inconveniences that used to be something that I would right away say, all right, you know what? It's been a bad day at work. I feel like a failure. I'm going to go home and hurt myself, or I'm going to start planning ending my life. It became super normal and casual to me. And something I learned in therapy was that I also was using planning to end my life as a pause button in life. So then I learned for those different small things that go for a walk, reach out to family, do some of those creature comfort things like lighting a candle, a warm blanket that feels comforting, things like that. So I found ways to self-soothe, but I have not learned how to deal with really big things. So that became a big problem for me in the past month. Working up the courage to tell my husband I was going to leave, and looking for work that I have not had any experience in. So, and trying to do remote work. So I'm like trying to scrape from the highest shelf, and I'm not that qualified. But it's been kind of a tricky thing looking for a new job and stuff. And there's some other emotional things that I won't necessarily go into, but I have felt really, I don't know what to say, tortured, feeling spun out of control. And I was not prepared on how to deal with coping mechanisms for the really big things. So then those thoughts have been in my head more. Now, with ending my life, if I don't think that staying with my husband is good for me and the kids, why would I think that it would be good for them by themselves? I don't. So I have no other option but to press on for their sake, even though I don't feel like I'm good enough plenty of the time. But it gives me something to strive for, to be good enough. So I'm able to combat the wanting to end my life So every time it tries to float back in my head, I can combat it with that. And to get a bit of an example of how common it used to be for me, other than just having a bad day and going, all right, gotta end my life. Even when I was in therapy and things were going really well for a while, it was like, oh, you know what? Things have been good. You should kill yourself. And right away, I was able to kind of like catch that thought and say, whoa, that's insane. Why is that running across my mind? So, super difficult thing for me. Way too normal in my head. But then there's self-harm. And that, to somebody who is vulnerable, to somebody who has fallen to that temptation and that evil, whatever you want to call it, it's hard because you feel like, well, who else are you hurting? Nobody. You go in a closet, you hurt yourself, and then you can cry, you cope, it calms you down, and you move on. It's a good distraction. And I've always been able to hide it. But I realized that me feeling this way and thinking this way still isn't healthy. And it's not something I like to share with people. I feel really kind of uneasy about this right now because I know some of my sisters watch this, and I don't want them to worry or feel bad because it's nobody's fault. It's my own struggle, my own thoughts, my own illness. So it's tough. I did relapse once in the last few weeks. And I didn't feel bad about it. Didn't feel bad about it at all. And I wanted to do it again, but I did not. It was bad because I even knew that, and I cried about it. I bawled because I knew I didn't have coping mechanisms big enough for my stresses, for my problems, my struggles I'm going through with emotional stuff, stuff with my husband, and with trying to get work. And then I work at a library, and I take on a lot of work there too. So there's a lot on my shoulders, and I have not developed coping skills big enough. I have tried to tack on, an extra half mile to a walk, or reaching out to a sister sometimes every 2 days. But that's it so far. So, and I guess that was something that I didn't plan for. And I typically plan everything and how I want to handle things, or how somebody might react and how that might make me feel. And I was not surprised by anything that my husband did, but there's other things like with jobs and other emotional things that I did not anticipate. And so that's what's really kind of spun me out of control. And sometimes I just really feel like giving up. But I know it's not an option, and I know I can't slide back into self-harm. So, yeah. My advice then, for me and all of you, is then not only plan for the little things or the moderate problems, but then planning your coping skills for the big things, because those do come out of nowhere. Death in the family, getting left by a loved one, loss of a job, those different things. So, anyway, thanks for watching.